Good morning, everyone. Okay, I'm feeling a little frenzied right now because I forgot about the time change, so I'm feeling a little disoriented, and I have a heater in front of me, and I'm just wondering like how long it's gonna be before I have a sensory overload and have to lurch forward and turn it off because it's heating up my leg too much, and also I'm wearing a shirt that's really tight around my armpits, and but I wanted to wear my Sunday best, which is my Trixie and Katya shirt. So here we are. I am Sam McDonough, IFBB Bikini Pro, and this is my channel where I am now discussing the San Diego Pro, which happened yesterday. And per usual, I have a lot to say, and I have a lot more comparisons than I usually do. So let's get into it. Okay. I think the heater. I'm gonna be honest. I think the heater is too much, and I should have brought my water up here, but I'm sitting on my couch and I don't want to change my socks to go downstairs, and I'm kind of a germaphobe, so I don't really want to walk downstairs and then like come back and sit on this couch because my feet are on the couch. So it's a whole thing. But let's get into this. And I'm gonna turn the heater off. Okay. So we have a winner, baby, and that is Emmy Person. Congratulations, Emmy. Congratulations, everyone who competed yesterday. It makes me very eager to compete, but first I need to work on my physique. Okay, let's get into it. First, let's look at the scorecards. So here is the score. See how organized I am today? All right, here we go. So Emmy won unanimously. So I assume there were five judges. I mean, maybe there were seven, but that seems like it's probably a bit extreme for yesterday. They dropped the high and low scores, which makes me believe that there were like five judges. I don't think they dropped too high and too low, in which case there'd be seven. So yeah, so a three is a perfect score. So Emmy won hands down, and then there was some real discussion on who's getting that second place, who's getting the third place, and it was super tight between Brianna and Juliana. So a 1 point difference, which means they probably both got and maybe they got a vote for first place, both of them, but it got thrown out because it was the high score. So yeah, there was discussion for both of them to be second place or third place. And then there was a bigger gap between Neji and them. So this fourth place was 12 points, which means that was like a perfect fourth place score for her. And then Malu got 13th. And yeah, actually, well, that is like technically perfect, but maybe there was some discussion over four and five because it's only a 1 point difference. Yeah. So Malu, the pink suit, I adored it. We're gonna get into it. And then Romina placed sixth place. So yeah, bummer, but exciting for all the people who are like, okay, that was the pro debut for Juliana. So let's just get into it. Okay, let's start with Emmy, and I have my notes. Okay, let me look at my notes. Oh, and then I wanted to note that I should do like a checklist of things that I need to talk about, but all I wrote was checklist. So I guess I'm gonna have to remember that as we go. Okay, let me just write the checklist. We have balance, we have poise, and like posing and stuff. That all goes into it. Tan is important. I wanted to talk about tans. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, that was dramatic. Okay, so here's Emmy. Emmy is who we predicted to win, and Emmy really just came to serve. I am obsessed. Hair, makeup, looks perfect. Sorry, I chose a photo where she's not totally smiling. Pretend that the corners of her mouths are up, and this is a smile. Hair is perfect. She looks like an old Hollywood superstar. She has that star power. I am obsessed. The suit, okay, so muscle contest photos are usually pretty yellow, so I don't think that these are great representations of like what people's suit colors look like on them. And that's especially true for like Malu and Neji, so we'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, not Huyen, Emmy just looks like a bombshell. She's super tight in the waist, the red looks great on her, old Hollywood superstar glam and hair. Um, yeah, okay, sorry. What am I gonna say? Um, so presentation looks great. Tan, it looks like there might have been some tanning issues, but I am willing to believe that it's just a muscle contest, like photography thing. Um, so because it looks like a little bit uneven here in the leg, but it could just be that. So Emmy won. Why did she win? Uh, she looks like, I feel like I just heard my boyfriend wake up, and you know I get embarrassed when people hear me talking, but he watches all my videos. So I shouldn't be embarrassed. He's gonna see it anyway. Okay. So yeah. Okay, checklist. Balance. Tan, glam. Okay, tan maybe needed some work, but I think that's probably going to be true for everyone. If one person has tanning issues and most of them are using the show sponsor, then probably more than one person has tanning issues, so it might just level the playing field. And I saw some other people who I wondered the same thing, which we'll go into. Um, but yeah, I mean, she just looks like she's bursting out of her skin with muscle. She has a ton of pop to the physique. Great projection here. This is like what we talk about with spot on conditioning. It looks like, she's super tight, but we aren't seeing any graininess or like striations or anything. So, in the downlighting, it's making this tie-in look even harder than it probably did in person. And the reason I say that is because the lower body is looking overall darker in tone than the upper body, which again leads me to believe that it was a lighting thing. But yeah, this conditioning is totally spot on. Great pop in the rear delts. You'll see that her upper body width is matching the width in her hips. That is something that they look for in with the balance criteria. You want like your conditioning to be balanced from top to bottom. You want to look symmetrical, so she's definitely looking symmetrical with having her shoulder width matching her glute width here, and she has just as much pop and projection in these rear delts as she does in her glutes. This suit cut on her looks great. It really accentuates that like you want your suit bottoms to frame your glutes, and that's exactly what this does. You want to wear your suit, you don't want your suit to wear you. So if she had like a bunch of fabric that were bunched up here, then she would need a smaller suit cut, which would then look like this. So yeah, that just goes to show that the shape of your suit and the cut is supposed to be tailored to you, which her suit is. So yeah, everything presentation is just looking really good. Also, you'll see that her shoulder is pretty much in line with her glute here, which further adds to that balance. And oh, I wrote actual notes on Emmy too, so let me see what my notes were. Okay. The one thing that, and I'm thinking that less now that I look at it like on the big screen, but I almost want the suit to cover more like here too, because I felt like with this like big space, it looks like she's almost tipping forward a little bit, but I think that's just my own suit preference with the molded cups sometimes. So like let's pull up someone who doesn't have a molded cup. Let's pull up Juliana. Oh, that's from, yeah, okay. Let's pull up, yeah, I just think this shape looks a lot better. So this is just a standard cup compared to Emmy's, which is a molded cup. Um, this just pulls across her physique and then further adds to that balance between top and bottom. So since this is so narrow, it almost makes her look like heavy on this side, whereas Malu's, since it's like streamlined across the entire top of her physique, it really shows off that like tapering in the waist. So I would like to see Emmy just wear a standard top. I did look to see if she'd worn a standard top in the past, and she did, but unfortunately, oh, oops. Unfortunately, it's been a while, and it was a little bit like ill-fitting at the time. Like it could have been tied tighter, but I'll show you anyway, just so you can see what I mean, or so you can see what like, yeah. So this is a standard cut top, and it just pulls across the physique better. Of course, she has way less muscle in this in 2022 than she does now. But yeah, so that's just a preference for me, something I think would like look even just a little bit better, but I don't think it's something that's going to actually hurt her. That's totally just me nitpicking. Okay, and so Emmy is who I have been rooting for, as you know. Like Maria Acosta, she has been in like missed her qualifying spot one time for sure, but like there were a couple times where she got third, I believe, that I think were like pretty close. And yeah, I just think that Emmy and Maria Acosta have a lot of similarities. Maria Costa, Tyler Manion put his feedback for the Arnold placings, and he said what we suspected, which was that Maria just needs a little more muscle. So Maria got to the level of leanness that she needs to get like everything to pop and be very striking. But this would be a very difficult level of conditioning to get to. I mean, everyone's is, but she had like just enough leanness that she could get everything to pop, whereas someone like Amy could be a little less lean than Malu and still get the same look. And Tyler said that Amy's back pose was the best in the show, and he said that Maria just needs overall a little bit more density, And I think that's the exact same case for Emmy. So I think Emmy is someone who we could see like do well at the Olympia this year. I mean, it remains to be seen who else is qualifying and stuff. Um, but yeah, I think that they're in a similar boat and kind of on a similar trajectory. Like Maria was super close to qualifying for the Olympia like 2 years in a row. And Emmy, it was 1 year and she was super close. Then she qualified this year. So yeah, I think for Emmy, it'll just be a little more density overall. Probably in this upper outer, even though she does have great projection as she is now, I suspect they will say just a little bit more muscle. So that's my guess. Maybe not. I mean, if it caps out here, I'd be totally happy with that. But my guess is that judges will say, like maybe at a more competitive show, that she should have a little more muscle come time for the Olympia. So we'll see. Maybe she'll jump into like Pittsburgh this year, which is in May, or New York or something. So yeah, I would love to see that. So that's what I have to say about Emmy. I also, did I already say I should have brought my water up here? Well, I should have. Okay, and now we have Brianna and Juliana. So let's compare them next to each other because it was a 1 point difference. So Brianna, what I said in my preview the other day is that we haven't seen that she has done really well at shows before, like Vancouver and was it Nevada State or Patriots or something? Some show that I think Ashley Kay was competing in. So I said that even though she's done well, I wonder how she will do at this show because usually the shows that Ashley Kaltwasser shows up to, fewer people compete because they know pretty much what Ashley's going to do. I think Ashley will be changing some of that up this year, but we'll see. So yeah, Brianna had a great look. I think what took her out of the question for that first place is you can see she just has a lot more detail here than Emmy does. So she's just a lot more, she reads as a lot more lean than Emmy does. Like you see more hardness here. You see some on Emmy, but more in Brianna. And then also just a size thing. Her glutes just are not as full on the upper outer edge as someone like Emmy. So I think that's why she wasn't in the running for first place at the show. But excellent shape. Really great hourglass frame, which is exactly what you're looking for. Super tight waist, conditioning looks on point relative to how much muscle she has. So could she have come in a little bit fuller in this front pose? Yes, but she wouldn't have gotten this amount of projection in her back pose. Like this shape and conditioning in this glute ham tie is perfect, and you see a lot of projection. Tan looks really good, looks really smooth, like she's glowing. The thing that makes me, she also has her hair covering her shoulder, and I wonder if she's really vascular in that back shoulder, so she wanted to cover it. I don't really know why else she would have this here. I mean, it looks pretty, but it's also a physique competition, so unless you're like trying to cover something on your physique, then I don't see why you would have your hair on your shoulder. Length of the hair is really good. We can see some of that lower back between the suit bottom and the hair, which is great. It accentuates how small her waist is. You can see it actually taper from her lats. And what would I like to see change? I'd like to see her hands drawn more in on her leg here, because when you can see her hand, it makes the width of your lower body bigger. So it would just look a little more polished if she brought her hands in. And I'd like to see her hair off her shoulder to see if that changes anything. And then in the long term, I would think just a little more size so we don't get all of this detail here. And yeah, I think that is all I have to say about her. Let's see. Yeah, okay, that's all I have to say. And then why do I think she got the nod for second place over Juliana? I think she just has better I think she has better proportions at this point. So Juliana, I think, will be a big threat, like in the next year or so. Like maybe when she does her, when she does the Arnold 2026, she could do really well. I could absolutely see that. But at this point, she just needs a little more upper outer glute. This is only her second or her third show she's ever done. Her first show she ever did was LA Championships. or LA Fit Expo in late January. And then she did the Arnold Amateur, won the overall, and then she did the show and placed third, but it was like pretty tight for second place. So yeah, I think for her it's gonna be more overall size. She doesn't look skinny, but you don't have that same volume to the legs that like Emmy and Brianna have. So I think it's just gonna be like another layer of muscle everywhere. So yeah, I think that's why Brianna won over Juliana. And then what else do I have to say about Juliana? So I want to see, this suit top is almost like sagging, so I don't know if we need to tie it tighter, so it goes like straight across, and tie it tighter on the top too, because it just looks like it's kind of drooping. That's also because it's going under her lat a little bit, so if you tie it tighter, then it would go across the lat. It also looks like she's tilting, like she's tipping this shoulder over. So if she could, or maybe not even tipping that shoulder over, but this one is hiked up too high. So leveling the shoulders, I think would be good. It is a big improvement from, did I make a comparison of that? It's a big improvement from LA Fit Expo that she did, where her shoulder was really like, really upwards, or however you would say that. Okay, here she is. So she won the overall at this show, was going by a different last name at that show, so if you're trying to look her up, her last name is different. So yeah, she's like really tipped over in the upper body here, so it's definitely an improvement. And okay, let's go back to her. Now I'm just starting to whisper. What's that about? Hair and makeup looks really pretty. Tan looks really good. Okay, so yeah, I think more size probably everywhere, and then with an emphasis on glutes and shoulders for the long term. But waist is tiny, conditioning is excellent, especially in this back pose. She has a ton of projection in these glutes, and I think she could do like, I forgot that she was doing this show. I knew she was doing that show, but I didn't recognize her name when I was on the list. Otherwise I would have put her in my like top 5 prediction. But when I saw her at the LA Fit Expo, I was like, she better be doing the Arnold Amateur, because why else would you like look this good at the LA Fit Expo when there's no other national shows until like late May? So yeah, very excited about her. And then what was I gonna say? Yeah, okay, so her back pose was spot on. I think that back pose definitely could have gone to second place, but the front pose was just not as strong as Brianna's. So let's go into her Arnold Amateur to the San Diego Championships. So, okay. So, posing in the upper body has improved since last week when she won the overall. And it looked like she had a little more pop at the Arnold, but it also could be the lighting. The lighting at the Arnold is really good. So, yeah, when I saw this pose, I was like, that looks like a mini Laura Lee. And I think they're similar heights. I think she's tall. And they're also wearing maybe even the same suit. The same base color for sure, but might even be the exact same suit. So, yeah, I want to compare these two because I think that she was a little bit fuller the Arnold Amateur, which honestly, thank God, because the other girl who was second overall, I mean, she probably still would have won even if she brought this look. And again, the lighting's a little harder at San Diego. But the other girl who I have pulled up because I'd really like to see her compete soon, Priscilla, the highest placing she'd ever gotten regionally was second place. She didn't even win a show. And look at the amount of fullness and projection she has here. She'll probably need more glutes in the long run. But like, this looks like somebody who could do pretty well at a pro show if she got a little bit tighter, with the caveat of if she looks as good when she gets a little tighter. So yeah, I would like to see her compete soon. Okay, back to Juliana. So then I made a comparison of Laura Lee to Juliana. We have like a lot on Juliana, I'll be honest. But like, does this not look like Laura Lee, but with a little less muscle? Like, the structure is so similar. I am shook. And yeah, she just has all the potential in the world. Like, I think she could win the Olympia in the next few years. Like, she has the structure and the genetics. She's only done, like, this is her third show ever, and she's already, like, gonna go to the Arnold next year. Are you kidding me? So yeah, the glute insertions look similar, height is similar, just another layer or so of muscle, whatever that means. And then let's look at, and then I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if Juliana could win a show this year. And then I was like, who has won a show when they had like a little less, when they were a little undersized? And then I was like, Deanna Dang. She won when she was a little undersized. Given Deanna does have a lot of density, especially in this back pose, but in her front pose, she's a little less muscled, and Sasquatch is one of the biggest, like, numbers-wise, shows of the year. And I would say, I don't know what the tier system would have said, but, like, when they had the tier system to qualify for the Olympia, when you would, like, qualify on points, potentially, but Sasquatch, there's usually like 30 some competitors there, really good competitors. Like Deanna beat Jordan Brandon, and Jordan Brandon just competed at the Arnold and placed 12th at the Olympia. And Deanna won. So I wondered if Juliana, we could see something where Juliana is undersized but still wins based on structure and the amount of fullness and like the overall poise she brings to stage, because she has great stage presence. And maybe we could, I don't know, it's probably going to be this, it's the front pose, just a little more muscle, and maybe that could be fixed within like a few months. But yeah, could it happen? Maybe. I think it might be wishful thinking on my part, because I would love to see someone who just did their first show and then is going to the Arnold next year win a pro show and then compete at the Olympia. That would be really cool. Would she place at the Olympia? I don't know, but it would be cool. Okay, moving on from Juliana. Did I have any other notes? Show background. Winning, maybe, and Deanna Dang, undersized and winning at one of the biggest shows of the year, excluding marquee shows. Okay. Yeah, I said it. Back pose, great. Laura Lee, tan. Oh, yeah. Do I have anything to say about the tan? I think it looks okay. It's really just the lighting itself is kind of grainy. Okay, and then in fourth place, we have a Neji. So I have seen her wear this suit in person, and it looked excellent in person. Like I was saying earlier, Malu and Neji both wore pink suits, and I didn't think that they were captured as beautifully in photos as they are in person. Okay, Neji looks excellent. What do I have to say about Neji? Great stage presence, infectious stage presence, really. Hair pretty, maybe like brush through these curls a little bit, but looks pretty. I'm honestly pretty happy with it. I don't think that would have changed placings. And then I think what she will need to work on is just proportions. I don't think there's anything she needs to change about her poses. They look great. I think it's just going to be more upper outer glute here. And this is one of the scenarios where I wonder if she did have a little extra fabric, if it would accentuate her glutes more. So she's wearing like, I mean, there's no official micro cut, but like it looks like a smaller cut than say a pro cut or something. Let's pull up Laura Lee, because she wears a regular pro cut. I don't know. If Neji wore a suit that had more coverage like this, then it might make her glutes look bigger, because we aren't seeing where they kind of become a little shallow at the top. Would that change things? I don't know, but it's something to think about if she's going to keep competing this season. But yeah, I think in the long term, she has a lot of potential, but she needs more upper outer glute here to give more of an extreme, like, cartoonish hourglass shape. The conditioning is on point, super tight, similar conditioning to Emmy, but yeah, just more size in the glutes overall, and I'd like to see just what that changes if she ends up placing higher than like fourth place, and then if she doesn't, go from there. But really excited for her, and yeah, I would love to see her qualify for the Olympia. I just don't know that it'll be this year, because we need more density on the glutes overall. So if I were her, I don't know. Competing is so fun. Maybe I would keep competing. But if my goal is to qualify for the Olympia, I might take an extended off season. Not that extended, but like an off season to build up my glutes and then come back. Because she just competed at Battle of the Bay, which was in December. So that's like a pretty quick turnaround to be able to put on enough muscle to do, like, to win a show or something. And she looked great at that show. She got 6th at that show. And that show was big. It was like almost 30 people, I think. Okay. Malu. What do I have to say about Malu? Loved the pink on her in the stream that I saw. Hair looks better than it did at Wasatch. Hair looks cute. Here she was at Wasatch. This is what I wanted to show you. Yeah, hair looks better. We'll get into that in a sec. So yeah, Malu was in, where was the placings? Where were the placings? Okay. Malu, yeah, it was a 1 point difference between her and Neji. So what do I think was like the deciding factor between those two? I think that Neji brought overall more fullness in the glutes than Malu. Hers are looking a little bit shallow. And you can see how it kind of like flattens here. It starts to cast a shadow like towards the center of the glute just because she needs to build up her glutes more. And Neji, she is just like nothing but projection. She has the right conditioning to accentuate the amount of muscle she has. And she has like a very good amount of muscle. I think the reason it was so close, even though the glutes for me are kind of like lights out, Neji over Malu, Malu brings a really beautiful balance, and balance is a major part of the criteria. And she looks very natural in her pose. Not that Neji doesn't, but Malu looks very natural in her pose. Great stage presence. Like, she really commands your attention when she's on stage. So I think like her structure is what made her neck and neck with Neji, but her like projection and pop, she just did not have anywhere near compared to what Neji did. So yeah, I think that was the difference between those two. But if we're putting Malu Malu in a vacuum, what is it that she needs to change? So, okay, I made comparisons between her last year look and this year. And okay, her glutes look fuller here. You aren't seeing as much of that like flatness through the center there. I think her pose is better here. I like how her leg is better. It looks more confident than this one. The bend, I see what she was trying to do. She just didn't want there to be like a huge amount of negative space between her legs, but she's not like bow-legged like me, or like Jennifer Dory, where if Jennifer Dory, okay, where is she? When Jennifer Dory's knee is totally straight, and I've gone over this a million times, so here she is kind of bending it to minimize the negative space between her legs there to maintain more balance between top and bottom, compared to when her leg is naturally straight, it hyperextends, so there's a huge amount of negative space, which kind of throws off her balance. Okay, so let's get back to Malu. So Malu doesn't really need to do that because she's not like bow-legged. It looked good, like her conditioning was really good here, so it still works. She got 6 at this show, Wasatch, which is another major show. But it looks like Malu, maybe it was a peaking thing, but it doesn't look like she put on much muscle between last year and this year, which kind of just confuses. I mean, I guess she does have more roundness in the upper outer glute here, so I don't know if like the break she took was not as much to build muscle as much as it was like competing just didn't work with her life to keep doing it last year. But yeah, I don't know. It just still looks like she hasn't made much improvement since last year, which I feel like a bitch saying. But yeah, it's not looking that different to me. I think her pose is, I don't know if she has, yeah, I would like to see, it looks like she's pinching her shoulder blades here. Maybe her hair is just fuller. But yeah, maybe like open your lats a little bit. Would that have changed placings? To me, no. And yeah, I think she just needs a little more size because we're seeing a lot of rib cage here, which is going to happen when you're a taller competitor. Like you see Laura Lee, who won the Olympia with that. That's just like what her structure is. It's not, too extreme there. But yeah, Malu, just like Juliana, needs another overall layer of size. I think that's it. Because everything else is perfect. Hair and makeup always looks great. Suit color looks great. She looks great in any color. She's worn a bunch, like purple. But yeah, the leg conditioning looks really good. She's just looking a little bit, under muscled in the shoulders here. So I don't know if she could just pump her shoulders more and that's how she gets them to look like that. But yeah, I think it's just going to be long-term more size. I don't think any amount of like posing or whatever is going to change anything. Okay. And then in 6th place, we have Romina. So Romina, and we'll go into comparison photos too. Romina, we were hoping that she would come in more like, okay, so here's how she came in. Much tighter. Okay, I'll just pull up the other pictures. Okay, so here she is at San Diego compared to last year. Her last show she did, I think Atlantic Coast was in November. And Romina had just consistently been coming in kind of like soft everywhere, but it really showed like in the core. But the core is something that Romina sometimes has a hard time bringing in tight. At this show, her core was super tight. She looks a lot like more shapely than she did at Atlantic Coast, but it just looks like maybe she is, I don't know, it just makes me wonder, is she only competing because of her like sponsors, like because she's sponsored by the suit company, so she's just like getting on stage to show off the product and like isn't that passionate about getting like higher placing anymore. I don't think that's the case, because on her Instagram it seemed like she is passionate about doing well, obviously, and she wanted this to be kind of like a redemption thing. um so yeah, she looked much better than she did at this show, but still, I mean, we said that, who did I say had too much detail there? I said Brianna had a little too much detail on the leg. Romina has a little bit too little detail there. Also, the arm is sticking out. That kind of throws off proportions for me. It actually makes the shoulder look a little bit smaller, doesn't accentuate her frame. If her arm were closer to her body, like Brianna's here, then it gives that frame to the physique. It really like shows off this shape she has. But Romina's arm all the way out here is not helping the fact that she is not quite conditioned enough. I also wonder if she tucks her pelvis. I would like to see her arch her low back more, like, again, Brianna is doing. Maybe that would help with her shape. Would it help her get a higher placing? I'm not sure, because it just looks like the conditioning is off. Yeah, it just looks like the conditioning is off, unfortunately. I really want to see Romina, like, qualify. But unfortunately, that is kind of the look we're coming in with. Back pose, it looks like she either, she's obviously tighter here, so maybe that's why her glutes are popping more, but also maybe she like has put on a little size since last year. I'm not sure. And then let's just compare that to the Romina that we were hoping to see something closer to. So this is 2022 when she placed 10th at the Olympia. Arm is closer to the body, much better frame to the physique compared to here. She doesn't have as much glute projection here, but that didn't hurt her. And she looks like of course it's different lighting, but she has a lot more pop to her physique in this photo than she does here. Like, everything looks a lot more on point. Like the tan, she's glowing, and again, that's probably the lighting. But yeah, overall, tighter, more detail, like in this arm, the leg, and that looks balanced from top to bottom. She looks a little more conditioned up top than she does on the bottom here. And then at 2022 Olympia, you're seeing like more tightness in the rear delt here, less of this like maybe holding water, like a little bit of this. So of course there's that one main fold, like where your arm starts to touch your back, but then she has like another fold here, so it makes me wonder if she's holding a little inflammation or just not lean enough. And then she has a lot of like pop and projection in her back pose here, like we saw with Emmy compared to this year. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I love Romina. Okay, and then let's go into the comparison photos and see if that kind of highlights anything for us. So Malu is in the center here. Emmy was our winner, and you can just see that I think Emmy and Brianna's conditioning, and Juliana, yeah, I see why this was so tight. Emmy just has more of that like entire total package with the amount of muscle she has, her conditioning, hair, makeup, suit, presentation, like she has it all. So to me, clear winner. You can see why these two were so tight. Conditioning on the lower body is pretty similar. I would say that Juliana is like looks almost a little bit leaner, but just because she has a little less muscle. Brianna has this great pop to her hamstrings and her glutes, which gives her really great balance in the lower body. Her hamstrings not overpowering at all. That leg is still tapering down. That's perfect. Both of them have great width between the top and the bottom. And I think Brianna has a stronger front pose than Juliana because of muscle and the way Juliana is leaning. It looks like Juliana wasn't quite consistent with the amount that she was with her front pose, which is similar to what Tyler said about Amy at the Arnold, how Amy wasn't consistent with how she was holding her front pose. And yeah, Malu just looks like the least muscular out of everyone, but still has a great like bikini structure and shape. The back pose, I think Malu is pretty clearly in 5th place. It's just like the glutes are not like everyone else that's on stage. You can see that everyone else has a lot of like pop in the same conditioning in their like lower glutes especially. And they each have like a glow at the peak of like where their glutes project. And Malu, the glow, and maybe it's because she's in the center, but the glow is like more towards the center where she like almost that is what's projecting more than the rest. She just looks a little flat. Not like she has a flat butt, but like flat. like I don't know, needed more pop. Maybe needed to pump glutes more, I'm not sure. So yeah, that's my take. Let me know what you guys think. And let me know if you have any predictions. What do you think is going to happen the rest of the year? Do we think Priscilla is going to compete? I'm obsessed with Priscilla. I really like her look. Yeah, let me know whatever. And have a good day. Thank you so much for watching. And thanks everyone who likes and subscribes to my videos. It makes my day. So I appreciate you. Have a good day. Bye.